Work out 1/5 of 70. So this is working out a fraction of an amount. And whenever you're finding a fraction of an amount, you take your amount, you are dividing it by the denominator and multiplying by the numerator. So you take your amount, 70, you divide it by the denominator, and you multiply by the numerator. And this is the same when you're finding any fraction of an amount. So let's do 70 divided by 5. 70 divided by 5, let's do a little bus stop. 5s into 7 go once, remainder 2. 5s into 20 go 4. So that bit is 14. 70 divided by 5 is 14. And then 14 multiplied by 1, well, anything multiplied by 1 is just itself. The answer is 14. The other way you can think about this is if you're a bit stuck in the exam, draw yourself a diagram. So it doesn't have to be a work of art. I'm going to cut it into fifths. As I say, it doesn't have to be perfect. Cut it into fifths, and I'm finding, well, I'm imagining the whole thing is 70, and I want 1/5 of that. Okay, that is my 1/5 shaded in blue, one of those 5 boxes. So you can see clearly there why it is 70 divided by 5, and then multiplied by 1, because I'm just finding one of these shaded boxes. So there you go, 70 divided by 5, multiplied by 1, 1/5 of 70, which is 14. Next part, Fiona has to work out the exact value of 48 divided by a half. She writes 48 divided by a half is 24. Fiona's reason is there are 2 halves in 1, so there will be 24 halves in 48. Explain what is wrong with Fiona's reason. Okay, well, I just want to show you something. So this question, even though it's kind of written the wrong way round, is saying how many halves are in, that's division, 48. How many halves are in 48? Because if you think about it, if we had this question here, 12 divided by 3, that question is actually saying how many 3s are in 12, to which obviously the answer is 4. So this question here is saying how many halves are in 48. Well, let's just look at how many halves are in 1, and she's absolutely right. There are 2 halves in 1. This part of her statement is actually correct. There are 2 halves in 1. It's just that this part of her statement is incorrect. So there are 2 halves in 1. There are 4 halves in 2. You can see where this is going. There are 6 halves in 3, and so on. So what are you actually doing? Well, in one cake, there's twice as many halves, because if you think about it, you're doubling it because we're talking about halves. In 2 cakes, there are double that in terms of the number of halves. In 3 cakes, there are 6 halves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in 48, there will actually be double the number of halves. Okay, so you're actually doing 48 multiplied by 2. 48 multiplied by 2 is 96. There are actually 96 halves in 48. Okay, because we're actually doubling the number that we've got initially. Okay, what she's actually done is she's actually just done 48 divided by 2 to get 24. But this question is not 48 divided by 2, it's 48 divided by a half, which is very different. Okay, this is saying how many twos are in 48, of which there are 24, but this question is saying how many halves are in 48, of which there are 96. Okay. So what is wrong is that there are 96 halves in 48. She has just divided 48 by 2. Not a half. So she's divided by the number by 2. She's not divided by a half. Okay, hopefully that makes sense.